Welcome to Radiant Living, Inspiring Humanity to Thrive. I'm your host, Marisa B. Today, I'd like to welcome someone who's been in the publishing industry over 35 years, featured writer, columnist, editor, and speaker. She's the founder and executive editor of Sanctuary, an online lifestyle magazine for women. Today, I'd like to welcome Myrna Beth Haskell. Hi, Myrna. Thank you so much for coming today.
Hi, Marissa. I'm so pleased to be on this show for you. I've been watching the episodes and it's very inspirational. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, thank you. I so appreciate it. I love your magazine, and I so appreciate everything that you put in there and all the hard work that everyone does because you have a wonderful staff, fabulous writers. Can you first of all tell me what prompted you to start your own magazine?
Yes, and it was, it's one of those things you have this idea, you forge forward, and then there's so much that goes into it that you didn't even realize kind of thing. So I'll start from the beginning. I was, a writer, columnist, syndicated columnist, section editor, associate editor for all these other regional, local, some national magazines I had feature work in. And it got to the point in my career where I just said, I really want to do something for women. And I kind of want to be in control of the direction, the voice, the tone, the content, all of that, and have more of a managing role in something. And so at that time, I was working with a couple of other women on other projects, and they helped me out when we started. And we just wanted to see how it was going to go at first, So we decided not to go right to distribution and print because I knew, having been in the industry for all those years, that it was kind of turned on its head in the late 90s, mid to late 90s, and smaller print publications, a lot of them were going up under. A lot of them I had written for were no longer in print. And you need another staff to deal with all of that when you do print and
Yes.
online. So we said, well, just start online, see how things go. And it just, people were loving it. They just really grabbed onto it. They became invested readers. They would send us letters. They'd wonder when the next issue was coming out. And so we knew we had something there. And it kind of developed from that. In the beginning, it was very small. We still have a small team, but there were just three of us. And so we didn't have the sections and the amount of content we have now. So just so folks out there know, about 30% of our content is about women in the arts, all arts. And the reason for that is, I'm very, very passionate about the arts community, and I have a lot of friends in that community, and lots of times they're underrepresented. And I wanted to make sure that we had a very strong inspirational section to the magazine. So there was that, but we also have so many other things. We have inspirational travel, we have career journeys, philanthropists, non profit leaders. We have a whole interactive section where experts answer readers' questions, and readers can send in links to businesses they love in their local communities. That's kind of new in our reader ramble that we started this year. We've got a huge health and wellness section. So that's healthy body, healthy mind, alternative therapies, personal issues with safety. There's just relationships, everything that you can think of in the health and wellness sector. So it's really, really grown into this magazine that kind of everyone can get something from. And we like to say that we straddle local and national and elsewhere because we do, since I live in the Hudson Valley region of New York. I do like to definitely celebrate women who are in my local community, because that's what we asked others to do too, to celebrate women in their local communities. But we also have a reach because we're online. So we've had, galleries from Australia and gals running nonprofits in England and like from all over, which is really, really nice. So we've organically grown into a very invested and involved and interactive community, which I am very, very proud of. I love it.
I actually I love the magazine, and I do want to say that I will link the magazine's URL in the description because it's really worth a look. There are so much there, so much content, so much information, so much wonderful art. And I know that we're talking about women, but you also write about men as well. And I know that you have
Yeah.
section for men. It's not just exclusively for women, and women are not the only readers. of your
That's
magazine.
right.
So,
We do have, I mean, obviously we have more women readers, but
mhm,
the section for men you're talking about is when we celebrate the men in our lives, and we've connected that with our June issue, which is Father's Day month for us
mhm,
here in the US. So yeah, we've had some fabulous artists in the magazine. We've had nonprofit leaders. I'm not remembering his name right now because it was several years ago, but we had somebody that was running a program for the deaf that just took
mhm.
off, and he was doing amazing things for the deaf community. And so that also runs the gamut on what the guys are doing, you know, as fathers and community leaders and husbands and partners. And so yeah, people love that. And since you mentioned that, our sort of sweet spot demographic is more about, you know, 45s and up. But we do have a youth following too. And one of the reasons is we have a very popular Focus on Youth magazine that goes out, or special issue that's included, where we focus on women under 25 that are just starting their careers or looking for some promotion. And the it's just an uplifting thing to see these young people and what they're doing and how they're helping communities and what they're doing with their careers and their art. So we have that too. So yes, so you know, our sweet spot is more women 45 plus, but we do have a male readership, and we also have a younger readership because we do pay attention to those demographics as well.
And of course, it's wonderful with the young because you're giving them an opportunity. It's fabulous. I find that you opening the doors for them to be seen and heard. And I think that that's wonderful. And you do have quite a bit of young followers all over the world, because I do want to say that
Yeah,
it
we
is really
do.
international, right? That's the blessing of online, because
Yes, it
we
is, isn't
really,
it? And
right?
you know
We have
this, Marissa,
everyone.
with what you
Yes,
do.
yes. Of course, we have everybody at our fingertips. We can connect with individuals all over the world, and we actually can see that they're not so different than we are, and they
I love that
have
you
the
said
same,
that
right,
because there is a
concerns.
commonality, right?
Yes,
And
yes. I
and
mean,
and
we're all
when
human
especially
beings.
when it comes to health, inspiration, the arts, I mean, you can't go wrong there.
Right. I mean,
Everybody.
it's true. I mean, let's face it, we're all human beings on this planet, and we all have the same concerns, the same loves, the same fears. Um, we all have similar likes. We all want to be involved in community. So the internet does allow us to see that in a broader way. That we probably would not have been able to do had it never been created, because we would never know. I mean, I myself had someone from South Africa on speaking. I would have never been able to meet her, Miriam, without that, this opportunity. So I find it wonderful, because I know you have an international reach with the magazine and
Yes, we do.
online, and you've created interactive, which I want to discuss a little bit about that, because it's, I guess, the wave of the future. It's where we're going, because people want to
It is.
interact.
And you know, the funny thing is so when I first started out, I was already an expert in writing, editing, editorial calendars, you know, leading teams of writers, that kind of thing. But the nuances of, you know, social media and handling an audience and all the business stuff that went into it, that I really had to hit the ground running and learn about, you know, because now I'm running a company. It's not just what I'm writing,
Right.
I'm running a company now. And several of the publishers I talked to said, "Oh, forget about those interactive, you know, sections. That
Right.
never works. You know, you might put it out the first time and then folks won't respond." But I am here to say our community responds. Our community responds through emails, and they respond even sometimes directly to our social media prompts.
Mhm.
And it's working with our interactives. And just as you mentioned before, I think a lot of that has to do with the online community, right? It's
Yes.
quick. It's social media, it's short videos, it's people are able to quickly respond without having to send a snail mail letter or call up
Mhm.
on the telephone and wait on holds like we used to
Right.
do when we're pitching and stuff like that. So that has really been a big change.
Mhm.
And I think because we really tout community, not as just a thing to say, but we really do believe we're a community. We invite our sponsors in as part of our community. Our readers are part of our community. We have our team out there talking about a little bit about their personal lives at time, or shows that they went to, that they want to recommend, and things like that. And I really believe it gives this overall voice to everyone that's involved in the magazine. So it's not, a pedagogical thing, here's the health
Yes.
article that you're going to read, and that's it. I mean, we
Right.
really do look for feedback. We even ask our readers for content suggestions, and they've done
Mhm.
that before. And we watch
Yeah.
that very closely to see what's really resonating. And I think it shows in our magazine, that it's working. And
Mhm.
so I agree with you. I love the interactive aspect. I love learning from readers,
Mhm.
not just about their expertise, but about their opinions about what we're doing. And, it really shows. And I think that's why we have such an invested community. So,
Yes. I mean, it creates
so I'm
community,
glad
right?
we
It
sort of
creates.
overcame whatever I was
Yes.
hearing back 10
Yes.
years ago,
Well, I think that, yeah, I think, everyone has an opinion. So I'll leave it at that. Everyone has an opinion. And I should also say that oftentimes they'd like to voice their opinion. So that does
Yes,
happen. But, it's actually not only that you want to offer community, but it's actually creating community. It's, um,
yes.
it's an organic evolving of a community because people are interacting, because
And they
when
tell
they
their friends
have,
and their
right, they have
colleagues about us.
yes. Yeah, they have a
They
suggestion or they
really
have a thought
do.
or yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So
So
and you know what? It's a different energy when it's organic, don't you think?
yes. Oh, I
I
think
mean,
so.
yeah, when you grow from other people loving what you're doing and then telling people that they know and they respect and those who respect them in return, it's you're going to grow a community that's going to stay. So we're not like Time Magazine, right?
Right.
But what we tout is if you look at our analytics, people click, they
Mhm.
stay, they look at multiple pages. And
Yes.
so when you look at those analytics, we're like triple industry standard. I'm very proud of that. So maybe we don't have 10 million people following us, but the folks who are reading,
Yes.
they're sharing, and they're
Right.
connecting. And that's really, really what we wanted when we started. So, and it's just grown from there. I'm very, very proud of it.
It's a
It's a
wonderful
very
magazine.
inspirational, empowering space, because there's a lot of negative, obviously, out there right now.
Oh, we know
And so
that.
it's a
Yes.
place women can go and get educational information, inspiration. They can
Mhm.
learn how others did stuff in their
Yes.
sector and to see how they became successful and even connect with some of those people in some
Mhm.
circumstances. So it's just a feel good place to be, Sanctuary. And
It really
people
is.
get that.
It really is. I do have to say that I think when it offers much to the audience because when an individual's harried from the world at large, and we know that that's currently what's happening, at least in the
Or
United
even in
States.
their personal lives, right?
Right. Well,
Stuff
right.
happens
Personal.
and
Right. And
you're
then
stressed
you need to
out,
step
right?
you need to take a break and look at something that maybe is just for you because you have wonderful articles like you said, travel, different locations. You have artists from all over the world, and art, when I mean artists, I mean artists in all types of medium, right? Because they're you have musicians, you have singers, you
We have a
have
musician
dancers.
in, we have Jane Bunnett this month, and she actually is from Canada, but she's put this terrific Afro-Cuban jazz group together from these
Oh,
gifted
lovely.
musicians that she found in Cuba because she celebrates their culture.
Hmm.
And they become this international band. I mean, she's won all these Juno Awards and she's been, nominated for several Grammys too. And they just have such a unique sound. And so there's an example, right, of a musician, but we've had dancers, film writers, TV producers, of course, fine artists of all types, sculpture and
Yes.
painting and printmaking and all of that. And so we do have an actual extra space for fine artists because we do have, I have such a huge backlog actually of fine artists because I also am a board member of the National Association of
Yes.
Women Artists. So a lot of people know how to find me. And, we want to include as many people as we
Mhm.
can because there's so many gifted artists out there and you want to celebrate them. So we do have this other section that we have so that we can include more women. And we actually started a community compass this year, which is really did very, very well in its first launch last month. And what we're trying to do with that is include more women and include more recommendations from women from communities all over where they're recommending people and
Mhm.
places from their local communities. And
Right.
we got over a dozen notes the very night that that went out saying how wonderful it was. So the launch of it went very, very well. So we have that as well, but we also have our traditional feature length issues that go out. March issue celebrating Women's History Month is one of those. So we've
Yes.
got lots of articles in there. So, and our gal actually, Marissa, if we want to talk at all about networking, our featured interview this month is with a gal that started one of these networking groups that went viral.
Mm.
And it's mostly for women in New York City, but she brings in others, through online. And, she's grown to, they have over 2,500 members at this point, and it's not that, it's fairly new. And they bring in speakers from all over so that it's a very educational experience. And they do these little place cards so that the women can learn which neighborhoods they're in and maybe take a taxi together home and make connections, with other women in business. And I am a big proponent of that because I believe that networking with other people in business that aren't even necessarily from your sector, right? I mean, that's
Right.
good as well.
Well,
But
yes.
learning from women in various fields is so important. And even, I think you have to present yourself as I'm here to meet you and say hello. And I love what you're doing. And let's just talk. And understanding that it might not even be something that's going to directly help your business necessarily. But now that
Right.
person knows you, they know what you do.
Yes.
And you organically start growing your spider of
Mhm.
networks that way. And because Sanctuary does deal with so many different types of content, not just arts, right? But travel, career,
Mhm.
philanthropy, wellness, all of these different areas. It's very important for me to meet people in all of these different sectors too. And I always say, when you get a group of women in a room, there's a different kind of energy, and it's infectious kind of in a way. Do you agree?
Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely. Well, I do believe networking is everything. I mean, I myself have recommended people that may not necessarily need to interact with me on a professional level, but that I know what they do, or I've become friendly with them through networking, and then, have heard from others how good they are, and I have done referring that way too, because you never know when someone's going to ask you, right? Oh, I'm looking for such and such, and that's how you make the referral because you know them
Right.
firsthand and you've been in contact with them in environments that don't just necessarily deal with their line of work. So, and I think you get a more
Yes.
well-rounded picture of individuals that way.
And you can get ideas and
Yes.
instruction from other business leaders too, right? Like maybe you're struggling a little bit in the social media space, or I don't know, just it could be a number of
Mhm.
things. It could be a leadership issue. How did you deal with this? I have an
Right.
employee XYZ.
Hmm.
Have you ever experienced that? What has worked for you? So it's even educational as well,
Yes.
not just, connecting people with
Hmm.
folks that they can work with necessarily. It's
Sure. Well,
educational
right.
as well. And I love to talk to other business leaders. I really do because I've garnered all kinds of really good ideas from
Mhm.
other people. And I think if your heart is open to that, they realize
Yes.
that. And then the other piece that you were talking about comes easy, right? The other
Mhm.
connecting piece.
Sure. Well, yeah, you
Yeah,
learn
so
something new
that's
every day, right? You want to be open to
yeah.
learning. You learn something new every day, so you always should be open to it because we can learn
And
from
we
others.
have that health section, and you're in the health
Yes.
sector. And, we usually have two health pieces a month almost,
Mhm.
but this month we have one from our columnist Laura Pensiero that talks about processed foods. And so that's
Mhm.
a big thing right now, right? So there's an
Right.
educational piece that talks all about what processing
Mhm.
is, what ultra processing is, chemicals, what you should look for in labels and stuff like that. So we have content like that too that people can really like take to the grocery store, right? So there's
Yes.
that content too that people really can use in their everyday lives besides the inspiration and those kinds of things.
Correct.
So Yeah, I love what I do, Marissa, and I always tell people the favorite part of what I do is meeting other women that are making a difference. That's absolutely my favorite part. Going and meeting new people, seeing what they can do, see if I can help them through promotion. Um, that's fun for me. That's the fun part of my job. There's some other parts of the business that aren't so fun,
Right.
but that I love. So,
Mm.
yeah. So anyway,
But
that's
now I
go
do want
ahead.
to ask you because the
Sure.
the the magazine is completely out of the political spectrum of
Yes.
of
Yeah, we
of
decided
thought
day
and
one we
right
weren't gonna.
thought
There's
the
enough of
right
that out there. You
yeah
know what I'm
thought
saying?
theory right formulation all of that. However, you do deal with health and wellness. That is a big section, right? And you
Yes.
also include the healing arts in there. And I wanted to
Yes.
know, do you have any backlash from anybody out there? Because I can't see that necessarily art would create a backlash. Maybe maybe a particular piece might, a particular work of art might, but in general, often there are the two camps, those that want to hear about health and wellness, mind, body, spirit, and those that don't. Do you ever have backlash with that
We
that's
we have
incorporated in the
not.
magazine?
I can
Good.
honestly say we never have. And I think this is the reason why. And I'm going to say this, and maybe somebody else that's running a magazine or whatever can take something from this. But so we have this big section, and I mentioned we have all these different categories, right? So besides having healers and alternative therapy, we've had the head of the American Heart Association. We had the CEO of Autism Speaks. We have scientists. We had the lead scientist in the Spring Institute that was looking at cancer rates on Long Island. So I think when people go to the magazine, they realize that we're trying to have a little bit of
Mhm.
everything. So if you're somebody that leans toward, you want to just see the scientific, you know, the different scientific, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm losing my word, experiments or, stuff
Yes,
that's out
right.
there on the
Research, yes.
NIH or CDC. We have that. But
Right.
if you're looking toward a more natural um, solution to
Hmm.
whatever it is you're struggling with, we have that too. And when we do our interviews, we never say this is the only way.
Right, of course.
Whatever writer I assign or editor to these various articles, they know that that's where we come from. We don't preach. So what we're doing is we're offering these different types of articles. And if alternative therapy and natural healing isn't your thing, there's other places in the magazine you can go to. And I think
Right.
that that's probably the reason why, because I've really have never received anything negative about any of the articles in our health section. I mean, I knock on wood, I guess, but we
Yes.
haven't.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the reasons we're not preaching and we're
Right.
including a bit of everything.
Right. It's just information, really. After all, it's information, and people
Yeah, and we
can take
usually,
it.
and if it's something that's a little tricky,
Mhm.
we might include a disclaimer, for instance,
Yes,
just so
sure.
people aren't confused.
Right.
Here's information for you, but don't substitute this for seeing your
Right.
health practitioner, and,
Right.
and we're clear
Exactly.
about that as well. But some people
Hmm.
might want to learn about light therapy because they're experiencing seasonal affective disorder, right?
Yes,
And
exactly.
some people might want to know about, I mean, I know that I never knew about breath work
Right.
until I ran Sanctuary Magazine. And I really use that now for
Yes.
stress. And
Yes.
so, and that works for me,
Yes.
but I'm not going to tell somebody else, oh, you have to
Right.
do breath work because it worked for me and it's the be all and end all. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
Um,
Well, we wouldn't do that out in the
yeah.
world. So why would you put it
So
in a
I think it's a lack
magazine?
of preaching. And I think
Hmm.
it's a fact that we do offer the gamut from science to natural. And we leave it up to the reader to decide what they want to read and how they want to take a particular article. And there are a lot of publications out there that tend to sort of lean more towards the preachy.
Yes.
The
Yes.
editorial team has an idea about what
Hmm.
readers should be doing, and
Right.
that comes across in the voice and the tone.
True.
So I
That's
really
true.
feel we don't do that. But Anybody out there who's listening that knows about my magazine, if you think we did, we always say we welcome feedback, negative or positive. We want to know about what you're thinking about what we're doing with the magazine. So,
which I think also contributes to why people like it, because they feel free to speak up if they want to say something. They have a right, almost. They feel like they have a right to speak up to the editorial staff that you
because I
have.
think they feel that they know us, Marissa. You
Yes.
know, in our new community compass, we actually have two
Mhm.
sections, one for sponsors and one for team, where we actually speak directly to the
Mhm.
community. Say some new workshop we went to, or I saw this great event or exhibition. People should check it out, or whatever it is. And sponsors, if they're running something new or
Mhm.
doing a virtual event or whatever it is. And that was actually a lot of the feedback we got. People really loved that. And I think the reason is, like, we'll even get comments in social media, like on Instagram or Facebook, and readers will say, "Hi, ladies," or "Great job, ladies," because we have an all-women team.
Yes.
And so that tells you right there, the way they're commenting, that they feel like they know us. And I know that some of our sponsors have told us that they feel, even if they haven't met each other in person to a certain point, that they know each other, because our sponsors also are an integral part of what we do, because of their expertise and because of their alignment in what we're trying to do with our content. So that all screams, I think, from Sanctuary, that that's what we're doing. And so that, that's a big part of it too, is the feeling like you personally know somebody, right? Like, remember Oprah
Yes.
Winfrey? I think everybody felt, because of her tone, that they
Yes.
knew her personally, even though they didn't. They were just seeing her
Right.
on television every day, right? So it's that more open-hearted,
Mm.
friendly, we really truly welcome you, we're not just saying it, attitude that comes through. And all of my team members feel the same way. I brag
Mhm.
about my team all the time. They are phenomenal women. My team of writers they're incredible. And so that's a big part of it too, right? Is the
Mm.
actual content and the reading. And we have some
Yes.
really smart women on the team that are doing really good things with our content. So I'm very, very proud of my team.
Because content, because even though the magazine is an online magazine, the the writers are actually out there in the communities because they have to be. I mean, you yourself go to events all over
Yes,
the world too, because you have to be in contact with people. And
that's
that's a
right.
question, because during the pandemic we couldn't go anywhere. And
I
you
know
had
that was
started it
terrible.
before. Your magazine was in 2016, I believe, right? That was the
Yes,
launch
it
in
launched
2016.
May 2016. So we're coming on 9 years this year, and next year will be our big 10-year anniversary, which is a big deal
Anniversary,
for
yes.
small business.
It is, yes, especially magazines and online, because they have come and gone because
Yes.
of
And it's very
readership and
competitive.
following. It
It's
is,
very,
yes.
and we've always said we're not going to do clickbait, and we're not
Right.
going to do pop-up
Right.
ads and
Yes,
this
yes.
stuff that drives people that really
People
want to
crazy.
read
Yeah.
crazy, right?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
how many things have you clicked on, Marissa? The
Yes.
title looks like it's going to be
Yes.
something you want to read, and then
Hmm.
you click on it. It's nothing. It was clickbait. It was nothing what the
Yes.
title said, something else, and it's garbage or it's whatever.
Hmm.
So
Right,
no,
right. Some
we don't want to
advertising.
do
Yes.
that. We do not want to
Right.
do that. So
Right.
yeah.
So, but now how do you find it? Because now after the pandemic, people are moving around more. So are the are your staff
I
members
think,
actually
I just
doing
think
more?
digital advertising is the way to go. I mean,
Mhm.
there's so many services and
Yes,
products that are online now because of the reach. It's
right.
really for the advertising community and the publishing community. It's
Mhm.
turned things upside down. It really has. I mean, you still can get your beautiful coffee table
Mhm.
arts magazines and
Yes,
things like that. And that's fine, and people can still go and get that. But it's in terms of reach and ads that can be clicked on. I mean, when you think about it, back in the day, right? We're gals that have been around the block a couple times. You used to open a magazine and you'd see an address, or you'd see something where you had to go, but you'd have to, maybe you're in the doctor's office, you have to write it down. It was a lot of steps to finally get
yes,
to the product or the store or the services. Now it's
right,
just a click, or it's just a scan with your
right.
phone and you get right to it. and then
Right.
order it right then, or call the
Hmm.
gal, you know, the
Hmm.
psychologist that's offering, or whatever it is. And
Hmm.
so I think that we're still working that out as business leaders and as consumers about how we're dealing with all of that. But you know, because I still love to go into a clothing store and try something on too, you
Right.
know, and I love to go into an art gallery and look at art in person. I really do,
Right.
you know, but in my magazine, we do really set up beautiful pages for our artists. We've gotten the feedback from our artists has been incredible. I have some of it where you can read about it and we hear you, because we try to set up the pages as if they would have been in a collector book in terms of,
Right.
you know, you can go to some magazines, picture, paragraph. And when you open Sanctuary to an arts feature, you're seeing something that looks a little bit more like a traditional magazine, right?
Right.
And we really celebrate the person in terms of what their journey was, what their challenges are, you know, what their accomplishments were. And so, yeah, you're not seeing it in person, but now you've learned about that person. And now maybe you're looking for where that person's going to exhibit next, right? And many
Mhm.
times we'll actually list if there's an upcoming exhibit so people can go and see now. So you're still getting that promotion and that following because of the interview, because of the way the interview is structured to really
Right.
dig into the artist and their energy and their journey. And you know, so that's the way we go with it, you
Mhm.
know. But I always love, you know, I always love to hold a real book. You know, I had a hard time
Right.
moving to computers and to phone.
Yeah.
I mean, I still have a hard time with
I
phone.
mean,
If I don't have my
I love
readers
the
with me,
computer,
I
but
forget
I
it.
want to read a book. I mean, I do want to read a physical book. I don't like reading anything online. I prefer a physical book, but I do use the computer extensively.
Yeah, I
And
do
I would
too,
think that that
obviously.
goes to right, and that goes to show you what you're saying about the artwork because it's making it accessible to people who really otherwise would not be able to access that artwork.
And you know,
And
when you
that's
say accessible, if I can, I'm sorry, I interrupted, but accessible, I didn't want to forget this. You're absolutely right about that piece. How has this online community helped those with mobility issues?
yes,
Or
yes.
they're not well and they're mostly at home.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, oh
Yeah,
my goodness,
yeah,
right? For
yeah. And I
ordering product, for
and it
reading.
dawned on me. Yes, it dawned on me because I did have an artist on recently, an artist filmmaker, and she was questioning accessibility to art, accessibility to information, and especially for those that are in rural areas, in remote areas, individuals that cannot physically move, that their mobility is an issue, that she was questioning a lot of that. And how is it that we're evolving with art, literature, music? How is it that we're going to be presenting it? Because as I was saying earlier, that with the pandemic, yes, people weren't moving around, but now, of course, your staff can move around more readily to grab up the information. And I'm sure that it's not always done that way, but it is, of course, easier to do it that way. And
Well,
then
here's an
present it.
example though too. Here's an example though too, Marissa, like with Jane, who's featured this
Mhm.
month. She's a saxophone flutist, band leader. We have a video of a
Yes.
performance. So if you're in just a hard copy magazine, you can read about that person and see the beautiful photographs of them and you know their band performing,
Mhm.
but you're not going to hear it,
Right,
right? So
right, right.
there's
Because you do
actually
have
an
a lot of
advantage
video. Yes, you
too,
do have a lot of
right?
video clips. Yeah. Oh, of course. You have a lot of, and you
Yeah.
do have a lot of video clips. You have a
Yes, we
lot
do.
of
Yes, we do. We're
video
big on
clips.
video. Yes.
Yes, because
So
it's
that's
easy for
something
people
that,
to see. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree. I agree. So it is though, Marissa, you're right to ask about it because it, you know, it is a struggle still, you know, there's still that sort of, you know, how do we do it?
Hmm.
You know, what's the best? And for somebody who's not me, who's thinking of
Hmm.
advertising with me, it's kind of like, you know, is this really going to reach people? Are they going to learn about my products this way? You know, there's still, um, you know, some folks out there that are a little not sure about the
Hmm.
online community. You know, they're really holding on to, you know,
Hmm.
1990 and before and everything being in
Right.
print. But again, I think there's good things about print still, as we mentioned, but then there's also fabulous things that are
Right.
happening in the online community. So I think,
Hmm.
again, it's, you know, what's working for you. You know, you have
Right.
to
Right.
think about your business and and you also have to think about what kind of audience you want, right?
Right.
So the people that follow us are invested in community. They really are. They're personally invested. And that's one of the reasons they love what we do, right? So, if you, so you're not going to see like, a Jaguar ad necessarily
Right.
in the
Right. Exactly.
magazine, right? Like a
Right.
car ad.
Right.
You're
Yes.
going to
Right.
see wellness experts, and you're going to
Right.
see artists and galleries and things
Right.
that are more
Right.
like that align with what we're
Hmm.
doing. And that's
Right.
because those people become a part of what we're doing. And I
Yes.
really think that that's the way to go. Another thing I think to mention is our information is free. We never
Yes,
went
I
to
was
a
going to
paid,
say that
yeah,
it's free. The magazine is completely free to the audience.
yeah. Our
So that
newsletter
is
and or I've had many
right.
people say maybe just do,
Yes.
a paid subscription, but we still are, we're bigger than we were, but we still have a
Mm.
small team. And honestly, to do a paid subscription
Yes.
requires another team of some sort.
Yes,
I
right.
mean, there's just only so much you
Yes.
can do.
Right, right, right.
And
And
I
it
really
makes it
wanted,
accessible again. There's that word, accessibility. It makes it accessibility
mhm. And then what are
to
they getting that
everyone.
we're not getting? You
Right.
know,
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. Yes, we wanted any woman, no, or man, or young
Right.
person or whatever, no matter what their means, to be able to go and read our content. Because there's nothing salacious. There's nothing like we don't, also, when we interview people, we're not looking for gotcha questions. It
Right.
goes with that kind of clickbait, provocative stuff,
Yes.
right? We're looking for the
Right.
journey, the
Hmm.
challenges. What did you overcome? Where were you before? Where are you now? If you're in the nonprofit sector,
Hmm.
what are the struggles in a
Right.
nonprofit sector compared to a for-profit, and those kinds of things that people really do want to learn about. But we're not gonna, and I think that's why, because we've had quite a few really notable people in the magazine.
Yes.
And I think it's because they trust we're going to do right by them. I mean, we had
Hmm.
Gloria Vanderbilt before she
Right.
passed,
And Deepak Chopra, right? Yes,
and she
Deepak
was
Chopra
not
was one of
known.
your originals.
She did not do
No.
interviews.
Do interviews,
I had
yes.
Temple Grandin. Temple
Yes, that
Grandin
I
doesn't
knew.
like
And
to
then you
do
have
interviews.
Deepak Chopra.
Yeah, we did. We
Yes,
as a
which
group
is
because he had put out that
yes, but
CD, and
yes,
yeah, he was there as
yes,
well.
right.
So, and I think that reason is because they know that they're going to get a quality, well-written
Hmm.
piece, and they know that there's not going to be this gotcha, oh, I'll get you. I read this about you
Yes,
here, there, or the
right.
other place. That we're really going to talk about the art,
Right.
the
Yes,
journey, the
exactly.
challenge, where they
Hmm.
are, what project they're working
Hmm.
on, so I'm sure there's readers out there that that's all they're about. They kind of want to read the juice or the stuff that's
Wow.
shocking, but that's not, but then that they're not going to really want,
Right.
our magazine in that case,
Right,
because
right.
that's
There
not what
are
we do.
those things out, right. There are those things out
Yeah.
there that do that and not necessarily do that truthfully. Also, right?
Right.
Because
Well, that's true
whole
too.
other
Right. Yeah.
that's a whole other ball game. But since with all this going on, everything that you're doing and that your staff's doing, where do you see yourself going from here? Where is this magazine going? How, I
Well,
mean,
I'm
these must be
hoping,
questions you think.
yeah, yeah, and I've really, what my focus is this year for myself and my team, and we've sort of been planning this since last March, is to be out physically in the community more. So, we were talking about reading print and seeing online and all of this. Even with online, you can do everything from a desk in an office, right?
Yes, right.
Our magazine got so huge with so much content that we
Mhm.
found that we were spending less time actually going to the things, talking to the people. And we have a little bit of a different structure this year with Community Compass, so that's enabling us to do that. I mean, Carol Lippert Gray just went to a fabulous exhibit space in Florida just a couple days ago, that she was writing about. But where I'm going to Nashville, and so I can't wait to write about the music scene there. But it's going to enable us, I think, to be out there in communities, and even overseas. We have quite a few invested groups, networking groups, individuals, artists from overseas that are writing to us for our She's Rocking It section and stuff like that, so that we can hear from our sisters across the pond, as well. And so whenever I travel, that's a piece to it too,
Mhm.
right? I want to talk about, I was at an Airbnb last year, and that ran the Airbnb, and some of her friends are now, sanctuary readers, and they've even commented and liked our stuff that they're seeing. And that, makes my heart sing. I love that. I really do love that. I love spreading the joy. I would love it if, obviously, if we could even get more readership than we have, but I'm committed to keep it so that it's organically done in such a way. Things have happened to magazines in the past where they've grown astronomically due to one thing or another all of a sudden, and they weren't able to handle
Yes.
the influx of readers and what was happening with that. So there's that sort of gray area too, where you want to grow and you want to grow your sponsorship base and all of that, but you want to do it at the correct pace that you're still handling your community the same way you always had, which in our case is somewhat individualized. I mean, you don't become a sponsor, for instance, and we plop an ad up, it's like a multi-level thing. So, and with our readers, with the interactive section, and even with my team members, I mean, we haven't discussed this yet, but if you want to talk at all about collaboration, my writers right now, one of them is in Vietnam, one of them is in Florida, one of them is in California, and one of them is in New Hampshire, right? But I always make it a point to have in-person team meetings, particularly with the senior team, because I find that sitting in a room in person, there's something about that energy, the quality of the work that gets done, and just like how much we get done in just a 3 or 4 hour period compared to like back and forth via email or, occasional Zoom calls.
Right.
So I like to do that as well as with my team and to hold luncheons and things where it brings everybody together to sort of, push that community collaborative in-person piece to it too. Because that's what you don't want to have happen with an online business or magazine, right? You don't want it to become impersonal. You don't, you want it to still feel community oriented, even though so many people are seeing it online, right?
Right.
So,
right. There's a fine line, right? There really is a fine line to
there
that. And you
is. There
certainly don't want
absolutely is.
content to suffer, right? You certainly don't want content to suffer.
Right.
Because
That's right.
after all,
And
that's,
so it's
what you're
that's why
buying.
we planned it for so long. I mean, it wasn't sort of a whim kind of thing. And, so far so good. So we'll see how things go, but we feel like we've probably in the first 2 months included more women than the year before in those 2 months.
Right.
So, so it's looking good so far. So wish us
Now,
luck, whoever's listening.
yes, yes, right. And the best of luck. And I do want to, before we end today, I do want to make sure that the audience knows, of course, I'm putting in the URL, the website for,
Yeah,
and
that's
where to
easy.
click for the magazine, but I want to know about social media because there is that interactive portion of social media. Are
And
you on
social
social
media.
media? Are you active? Yes. I mean,
Yes.
it's just the way it is. I mean,
So our
whether you love
URL,
it
in
or
case
hate
you
it.
don't make it, so our URL is pretty easy. It's
Yes.
sanctuary-magazine.com. And you can find us at either Sanctuary Mag 2016 or Sanctuary 2016 at all our tags. So we're on Facebook, we're on
Yes.
Instagram, we're on LinkedIn. I'm on also Facebook through the magazine on LinkedIn
Yes.
and Facebook through Myrna Haskell. That's not my personal page. It's kind of like my linked
It's,
page.
yes.
So people also contact me that way besides there. We're on X, we're on YouTube. I just started a Spotify page, but I don't want to promote that yet because it needs some more work. But we're very active on all those channels. We have stuff up every day. So
and you
people
do
can
have
find
a
us.
show. You do have a show.
Yes,
I've
and
actually been
we
on it. You
have
do
a
have a
couple
show.
podcasts.
Coffee. Yes.
So
Yes.
our popular one is Sanctuary's Coffee and Conversation, and Marisa has been on our show. Marisa's actually a very popular guest. I've had her a couple of times. So we have Sanctuary's Coffee and Conversation, and that runs the gamut with women from all different fields, and the topics run the gamut too, right? So it's health, it's photography, it's it's leadership, I've even had finance gals on there.
Yes.
I've had people who've experienced grief. It really runs the gamut, and you can find all those episodes from our podcast section of our YouTube channel. But we also have Hot Topic where we talk about a more narrow topic. We have Team Talk where you can learn funny kind of personal things about our team members. Again, we're trying to share a bit of ourselves
Mm.
because we're asking the community to share their
Yes.
selves when we're asking them to send in questions and things like
Hmm.
that, right? So we have that. And then we also include sort of like event hops, like videos. If I'm going to an art space or, a new location, like I'll definitely put some things up when I'm in Nashville, reels and different things in
Right.
social media there. So you'll kind of see these short videos, or we have this hashtag, where's your sanctuary, where we ask everybody we interview where they find sanctuary. It's kind of our
Right.
thing. And we've done video montages on that as well, where we've had people from all over the country and the world say where they find sanctuary, some in video, some just wrote to us. So that's there. So our YouTube channel in particular really has a wealth of different things. But Coffee and Conversation was our very first podcast, and that's very popular. And we have a lot of episodes at this point. So folks can go see us at Sanctuary 2016 on YouTube too and find that.
I'll
So,
list that also. I will definitely list all of the
oh, good. Thank
contact
you very
information
much. I
because I think
appreciate
a
that.
lot of people, no, no problem at all. I think a lot of people like to see, flip through and see, grab a reel, catch a reel, or a story that's out there on or Facebook or Instagram. A lot of people like to see the visual on Instagram. So I know that
Yeah,
I
and if they,
keep up
that's
with
right.
things
And if
that
they go
way.
to Hot Topic, like I just had, this might be something you're interested in, Marissa, or your daughter. Um, I had Meryl Meisler, who's an internationally known photographer. Her book Streetwalker just came out, and was in a huge show in Paris 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
And I had her in a Hot Topic conversation about black and white photography and her journey in the photography
Yeah.
world. So there's a little bit of everything,
Yes.
again, on our channels. I think our social media pages sort of speak to the varied content that we have on all of our
Yes.
channels. So,
Yeah.
but obviously YouTube, you're going to get more video than you get
Hmm.
elsewhere because that's all it is, right? And you're going to get a
Right.
lot of like photographs of fine art and things like that
Hmm.
on our Instagram page, right? So they're
Right.
all a little bit different. Social media I find to be, just as a business owner, very daunting. For instance, like Instagram just went from a square to a 4:5 ratio, right?
Yes.
Like things like that happen, and you already have a month scheduled of different things
Yeah.
that, besides stuff that comes up, obviously stuff
Mhm.
just comes up too. And then all of a sudden an algorithm is changed, or a ratio
Mhm.
is changed on what the image is going to look like. And
Yes.
so things like that can make you crazy, but it's making everybody crazy. So you have to kind of
Yes.
remember that and
That's
go with
true.
the flow, I think. I don't know how you
Right.
feel about social media, but it is its own animal.
Yeah, it's very definitely its own animal, and there are good things and bad things about it, but I find that it very much is needed to get information, to visual. It's a visual.
Yes,
I mean, I know
I
Facebook
agree.
has more writing than other ones, but it's to keep you in the know. Now, that's up
Yeah.
to you to
It's
if you want to
another
do
way
more
to get
research,
information
right?
for sure.
Yeah. And it's up to you to say, is this valid? Is this true? If you want to
Right.
invest the time in it, it's a quick way to grab a short bite of information, and then if it's important to you, you can look further. Because I think in this world we're so busy, it's so hectic oftentimes that many people don't have the opportunity to grab as much information as they can, say in their personal life. But if you see it in a quick little bite, then you can say if that's important to you, or that you want to further find information, you can do that afterwards. I think
Yeah, I
that's the
agree.
importance of social media that's out there. I mean, I know there's a lot of things out there that may not necessarily be nice or valid, correct, or truthful, but at least you can skim through and see what you want to grab and what you don't want to grab. And it is daunting for a business owner. It is daunting
Yeah,
because
it is,
things change
especially
so
if you're doing
quickly.
some of it,
Yeah.
within house, and you don't have another whole
Yes.
team managing social media.
Yeah.
But sometimes those teams that manage outside your
They have
internal
to learn
senior
too.
team, it
Yeah.
can get away
Yeah.
from you, right?
Right, right, right.
You
Oh,
want to make
absolutely. Can
sure
get
your
away from
social
you.
media really matches your tone, your
Yes.
vision, your voice
Oh,
of what your
absolutely.
business.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
I remember you mentioning COVID, and I will say this because I'm on your beautiful podcast here. Um, this is what we got out of that, though, right? People
Right.
really had a scramble to reach folks. It's not that online wasn't happening in
Right.
2020, but it really transformed itself. And the podcast world transformed
Hmm.
itself.
Hmm.
So there were good things that came out of that. And, because we weren't, I mean, Coffee and Conversation started in 2020 during the
Yes.
pandemic for us at Sanctuary. I don't know if, I know other people were doing podcasts and things,
Mhm.
but, we were only about 3.5 years old when the pandemic happened. And we hadn't gone into that space yet. And when the pandemic happened, we were forced to get into it. Like we had to still have some sort of a reach because I couldn't go to events and hand out brochures
Right.
and cards anymore, right?
Right.
So there were a lot of business owners that were in that position as well. But
Yeah.
so I think that these particularly, I tend to like video podcasts. I mean, I think, radio podcasts are great when you're driving and stuff. But if I'm on my
Yes.
computer, I kind of want to see the people that are talking.
Mhm.
So I love that you're doing this, Marissa,
Yeah.
because you can kind of get, you get the body language and all of
Yes.
that you don't quite as much, when you're just
Mhm.
listening to a radio podcast. So I tend to love the video podcasting. But that was a positive because I know you mentioned that earlier in the
Yes,
conversation.
definitely. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it. I know you're always so busy and busy
I
every day of the
listen,
week.
Marissa, I am honored really to be on this. You're
Oh,
doing
thank you.
such a wonderful job with this. You have so much content already. When
Oh,
did you
thank you.
launch again? And
I
when did you launch?
actually started, I started, May will be 2 years. So, and
Oh my
that was,
goodness. Well,
I
that's
mean,
how time flies.
right. Well, as a therapist, I did have to pivot because I had to see my clients online because I
Hmm.
couldn't leave them. And at that
That's
time
right.
it was frightening for them. They were in fear. Many of them were alone. I had no choice. Of course, I have to use something that is approved from HIPAA, the type of system that I use, because I still have clients that I speak with online through telehealth. So it was that I was scrambling to learn. But this came about afterwards. It was a fluke. I had no intention of, it would have never, if anybody would have ever asked me, I would have never thought that I was going to have a show. But because I saw that people were in need of having their voices heard, and that it was important for them to have their voice heard, and to have a variety of opinions and thought patterns, and I thought that it should be out there. So that's really why I started it, and it's been very successful. I've had so many people say that they love listening to the different people come on and speak. My guest speakers are from all walks of life, and
And
I
I love the
enjoy it very
title,
much.
Radiant Living, Inspiring Humanity to Thrive. I love that subtitle. You're doing a
Oh,
great job, Marissa, and I'm
thank
very
you.
honored to be on. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Thank you. Hopefully we'll speak soon. Take care,
Yes.
Myrna.
You take care too. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. Bye now.